Night Shift Whispers.
The twilight had begun to creep in as I arrived at the campus library. The atmosphere was still quite lively, with numerous students engrossed in their activities. It provided me with a sense of relief. Their presence made me feel more at ease, allowing me to focus on finding books and jotting down the necessary information for my final project. It was no secret that our campus library was infamous for being haunted. This story had been a daily topic of conversation among students, passed down from one generation to the next. The library consisted of 3 floors: the basement, the first floor, and the second floor. The building was surrounded by dense, towering trees on all 4 sides of its premises. During the daytime, the lush greenery provided a refreshing and pleasant ambience on the first and second floors. However, as twilight descended, those same leaves could transform into eerie, lurking monsters peering through the windows. I was a senior student engrossed in working on my thesis. The library was the ideal place for this endeavor, mainly because the sources and references I needed were readily available here. Unfortunately, I had a part-time job in the afternoons, so my only option was to visit the library from dusk till night. To make matters worse, most of the books I needed were in the basement. You probably already understand, don't you? If ghosts were given the choice of inhabiting a location within a building, their preference would undoubtedly lean toward the underground. The exact reasons remain a mystery, as I'm not one of them, but it's clear that all the characteristics typically associated with ghosts were well represented in our library's basement: dampness, chilliness, gloom, and the persistent dimness of the lights despite frequent replacement. Before embarking on my thesis, I wasn't easily swayed by ghost stories. I believed in their existence, but found it challenging to accept the idea that ghosts would appear in crowded, human-occupied spaces. However, when circumstances forced me to spend extended hours in the library's basement during the evening, I experienced strange events similar to what many other students have reportedly encountered. The first time, the disturbances consisted of vague whispers and heavy, labored breaths emanating from between the bookshelves. Yet, since there were 2 other students present at the time, checking the availability of books at the computer desks, I decided to ignore the sounds. The second and third occurrences were similarly dismissed since I was not alone in the room. Perhaps frustrated by my unresponsiveness to their attempts at scaring me, the following days brought more than mere whispers. Thick books suddenly fell from the top shelves while I was engrossed in selecting books from the middle of a bookcase. How could such massive tomes inexplicably tumble from the upper shelves while I had previously noticed them neatly arranged? Furthermore, peculiar sounds like paper being torn could frequently be heard from remote, deserted corners, occasionally accompanied by stifled laughter. 2 simultaneous reactions overwhelmed me in response to these incidents. First, I felt oppressed, and second, I was determined not to be outdone. Yes, these occurrences had become commonplace, with many other students experiencing them as well. Why should I be frightened? After all, it wasn't these mischievous entities that would be held accountable if my thesis were rejected by the professors. I fortified my resolve continually. My thesis would never be completed if I allowed my attention to be drawn to these troublesome entities. But I couldn't think about tomorrow, next week, or beyond the completion of my thesis. I could only focus on today. For tomorrow, I would muster my courage once more. That was the easiest way to endure. Tonight, I couldn't care less about all these ghosts, What mattered was that the second floor was still bustling with activity. Not less than 10 students were engrossed in their tasks, ensuring I wasn't alone. After finding the necessary books, I made my way to the second floor. The tables there were cubicle-like, partitioned off to allow students to concentrate on their work even while sitting close to one another. I selected a table situated in the middle of the room where most of the people were grouped together, also working on their assignments. Being amidst them, I felt more comfortable. At least the ghosts couldn't spontaneously burst into stifled laughter in our midst, could they? I lost track of time, but my work was progressing smoothly. However, I couldn't help but notice the unsettling silence in the room. It was eerily quiet, as though I had entered a different world. As I began to ponder this strangeness, my pen suddenly dropped. I quickly bent over to pick it up from the floor. It was easily found. Yet, as I accidentally looked around while doing so, my heart leapt to my throat. Something was amiss. Not a single pair of feet could be seen beneath the tables surrounding me. Weren't there a bunch of people sitting with me earlier? With a racing heart and a cold sweat breaking out, I once again glanced around to check on the people nearby. They were still there, but why were none of them showing any legs? My hands trembled intensely as I hastily gathered my belongings. There was one note left at the corner of the table, but I didn't care. In a rush, I left the room and made my way to the stairs. As I descended the stairs in a hurry, someone suddenly caught up with me. It was a female student who had been sitting in front of me, one of the individuals I noticed earlier without legs. She floated beside me and whispered, "Now you know, don't you?" What? I can't put into words how fear caused my breath to constrict. Distracted, I lost my footing on the stairs I was descending. My body tumbled to the first floor, and I blacked out.